David sat quietly in his large living room. The sunlight came through the tall windows, but he could not see it. David was blind. He had been blind for many years now, but his mind was sharp and full of thoughts. He could hear the birds singing outside and feel the soft breeze coming through the window. Still, despite all this, a deep loneliness filled his heart. David was a millionaire. He had made his money by working hard and smart. He owned a big company, many houses and cars. But money could not buy him everything. What David wanted more than anything was love, real love, a connection with someone who understood him, someone who cared for him not for his money, but for who he was inside. Every day, David woke up early and spent time thinking about his life. He thought about his past, his dreams, and the people he missed. He remembered his family and friends, some of whom had moved far away. He missed the simple moments, like talking to someone about his day or sharing a meal with a friend. But most of all, he missed having someone to love and to love him back. One morning, David sat at his old wooden desk. He touched the smooth paper and the pen next to him. He had an idea, a way to reach out and speak his heart. Even though he could not see, he could write. And maybe, just maybe, someone out there would read his words and feel the same. David picked up the pen and began to write. His handwriting was neat, and his words were full of feeling. He wrote about his loneliness, his hopes, and his dreams of finding love. He imagined a stranger, someone kind and gentle, who would read his letters and understand him. "I do not know your name," he wrote, "but I hope these words find you well. I want to share my heart with you, even though we have never met. I want you to know that someone, somewhere, is thinking of you with kindness." David wrote slowly, thinking carefully about every sentence. He wrote about how he saw the world in his mind, not with his eyes but with his heart. He spoke about the beauty he felt in music, in the sound of rain, and in the laughter of children playing outside. He wanted the stranger to know that he was more than just a blind man with money. He was a person who loved deeply and dreamed of being loved. When David finished his letter, he folded the paper gently. He put it in an envelope and wrote a simple address on it, a place in the city where many people passed by every day. He hoped the letter would reach someone who needed it, someone who might write back. Every day after that, David wrote another letter. Each one was different but always filled with hope. He told stories of his life, his feelings, and his wishes. Sometimes, he wrote about the small things that made him happy, like the smell of fresh bread or the sound of wind through the trees. Other times, he shared his sadness and his longing for connection. David did not tell anyone about his letters. It was his secret, a small light in his quiet life. Writing helped him feel less alone. It gave him a way to speak without fear, to share his heart with a stranger who might one day become a friend or more. His assistant, Sam, noticed that David spent a lot of time at his desk but never asked questions. Sam cared for David and understood that the letters were important to him. He wanted David to be happy, and he hoped the letters would bring some joy to his lonely world. One evening, David sat by the window, listening to the city's sounds. The cars passed by, people laughed in the streets, and the lights from the buildings shone like stars. David smiled softly. Even though he could not see the lights, he felt their warmth inside him. He thought about the stranger who might find his letters. He wondered who they were, a woman, a man, young or old. Did they live nearby or far away? Did they feel lonely too? The questions filled his mind, but he knew he could only wait. David believed in the power of words. He believed that words could connect hearts even when eyes could not see. And so, every day, he wrote his letters with hope and love. Every morning, David felt a small spark of hope. He knew that today he would write another letter. The letters had become a part of his life, like breathing or listening to the soft sounds around him. Each letter was a piece of his heart sent out into the world, carried by his pen. One bright morning, David carefully folded the newest letter and placed it in an envelope. He touched the letters on the envelope, feeling the smooth surface, imagining the stranger who might one day hold it. The address was written in clear handwriting, a small mailbox near the city park where people passed every day. David's assistant, Sam, was ready to take the letter for David as he did every day. Sam smiled gently. "I'll make sure it reaches the mailbox, David," he said kindly. David nodded, his fingers brushing the edge of the envelope. "Thank you, Sam. Maybe today will be the day." Sam left the house and walked toward the city park. The streets were full of people rushing to work, children playing, and birds singing in the trees. At the corner near the park was the mailbox where David's letters waited for someone's hands to find them. Sam slipped the letter inside and smiled. "Whoever finds this letter is very lucky," he thought. Back at home, David sat by the window and listened. He loved hearing the city's sounds, the soft footsteps of people walking by, the distant ringing of a bicycle bell, and the quiet hum of life all around him. Days passed, and David kept writing. He wrote about his dreams of walking in the park one day, feeling the grass under his feet, and the sun warming his face. He wrote about the music he loved, and the way it could change his mood with just a few notes. But most of all, he wrote about the stranger, his imagined friend, hoping the letters would bring comfort and joy. He did not know if the stranger was real or just a dream, but he believed that somewhere, someone was reading his words. One afternoon, far from David's quiet house, a young woman named Maya was working in a small cafe near the city park. She was kind and gentle, with a warm smile that made people feel welcome. Maya loved her job because she met many different people every day, each with a story to tell. That day, while closing the cafe, Maya noticed something unusual near the mailbox. A small envelope lay on the ground, slightly hidden behind a bush. Curious, she picked it up and felt the paper. There was no name on the outside, only a neat address and a stamp. Maya opened the letter carefully and began to read. The words were beautiful and honest. The writer spoke about loneliness and hope, about dreaming of love and friendship. The letter was full of kindness and deep feelings that touched Maya's heart. She read the letter again, slowly, as if trying to understand the person behind the words. Who wrote this, she wondered. Why did they send it here? Maya decided to keep the letter. She carried it with her everywhere, reading it during quiet moments at the cafe. The letter made her feel less alone, as if someone far away was speaking directly to her. Days later, Maya found another letter in the same place. This one was even more personal. The writer spoke about feeling lost sometimes, but also about the small joys that made life beautiful. Maya smiled as she read, feeling a connection she could not explain. She began to look forward to finding the letters. Each one was like a secret gift, a message from someone who understood deep feelings without even knowing her. Maya wanted to write back but was afraid. She didn't know the writer's name or where they lived. What if the letters were meant only to be read and not answered? One quiet evening, after the cafe closed, Maya sat by the window of her small apartment. She held the letters close and made a decision. She would write a letter back, an honest letter, full of her own thoughts and feelings. Maya took a piece of paper and a pen. She wrote slowly, thinking about how to share a little of her life without giving too much away. She spoke about her love for music, the cafe, and the city's changing seasons. She wrote about how the letters had touched her heart and made her hope for something new and beautiful. When she finished, she folded the paper carefully and placed it in an envelope. She addressed it to the same mailbox near the park, hoping the writer would find it. The next morning, Sam found a new letter in the mailbox. He was surprised but smiled, knowing that David would be happy to receive a reply. At home, David carefully opened the letter. His fingers trembled as he read the words written by Maya. They were kind and thoughtful, full of warmth and understanding. For the first time in many years, David felt a true excitement in his heart. Someone had heard him and answered back. Someone cared. He smiled to himself, feeling the hope grow stronger. Maybe, just maybe, this stranger was the person he had been waiting for all his life. David picked up his pen again and began to write a new letter, his heart full of joy. Maya could hardly believe what had happened. After sending her letter back to the mailbox, she wondered if the stranger would ever read it. She kept her hope quiet but bright inside her heart. Every day, she went to work at the cafe, but her thoughts often drifted to the mysterious letters and the man who wrote them. One afternoon, after the busy lunch rush at the cafe, Maya stepped outside to take a short break. The city was alive with sounds: children laughing in the park nearby, the distant honk of cars, and soft music from a street musician playing his guitar. She felt peaceful, holding a new letter in her hand. The letter was from the stranger. His handwriting was strong and sure, and his words were full of feeling. David had written back, answering her questions and telling her more about his life. He spoke about his blindness but said that it did not stop him from feeling the world deeply. He wrote about how her letter had warmed his heart like sunshine on a cold day. Maya smiled as she read. She felt as if they were becoming friends, two people connected by words and feelings, even though they had never met. That evening, Maya sat at her small desk in her apartment. She read all the letters again, one by one. She listened to the quiet ticking of the clock and the soft sound of the rain against the window. She imagined the stranger somewhere far away, writing to her by candlelight or under the soft glow of a lamp. For Maya, the letters were more than just words on paper. They were a light in her sometimes lonely life, a hope that maybe love and kindness still existed in the world. She had never felt this way before, and it made her heart beat faster. At the same time, David was feeling the same excitement. Every new letter from Maya was like a gift. He read her words slowly, letting each sentence sink into his heart. He wanted to know everything about her: her dreams, her favorite music, what made her smile in the morning. David's assistant, Sam, noticed the change in him. David was usually calm and quiet, but now he was happier. He spoke more, laughed softly, and seemed to look forward to each new day. Sam was glad to see his friend feeling this way. One afternoon, Sam suggested something. "David, why don't you visit the city park where you send your letters? Maybe you could meet someone there." David hesitated. He had never been to the park since he lost his sight. The thought made him nervous. But something inside him said it was time. He wanted to feel the grass under his feet, hear the sounds up close, and maybe meet the person who had written those beautiful letters. With Sam's help, David made plans to visit the park the next day. He was both scared and excited. For the first time in a long time, he felt ready to face the world outside his house. The morning of the visit was clear and warm. David put on his favorite hat and held his cane firmly. Sam guided him carefully through the streets to the city park. The sounds were louder here: children playing, dogs barking, people chatting and laughing. David smiled. He reached out his hand and felt the rough bark of a tree, the soft petals of a flower nearby. The world was alive with color and life, even if he could not see it. As David walked slowly with Sam, Maya was nearby, sitting on a bench and reading a book. She looked up and saw a man walking carefully with a cane. There was something kind in his voice when he spoke softly to Sam. Maya felt a strange feeling inside her. She did not know why, but she wanted to say hello. David's steps stopped near the bench. "This place is beautiful," he said quietly. "Can you tell me what you see?" Maya smiled and answered, "The sun is shining through the trees. The flowers are bright and colorful. And there are children playing near the fountain." David laughed softly. "It sounds wonderful. I wish I could see it with my eyes, but I can feel it here," he said, placing his hand gently on his chest. They began to talk. David's voice was calm and warm, and Maya's words were full of kindness. They shared stories about the park, their favorite memories, and the simple joys in life. As they talked, David felt something he had not felt in a long time: a connection, a friendship growing in the real world, not just on paper. Maya felt the same. She realized that the man before her was more than just a stranger. There was something familiar in his voice, in his gentle way of speaking. But neither of them knew the full truth yet, that they were the same people who had been writing letters to each other, sharing their hearts through words. As the sun began to set, David and Maya promised to meet again. They parted with warm smiles and hearts full of hope. That evening, both of them sat alone in their rooms, thinking about the day. The letters had brought them together in words, but now they had started to meet in the world around them. Neither could stop wondering what the future held. Would their friendship grow into something more? Would they discover the secret they both shared? For now, the letters continued to arrive, and the park visits became a new part of their lives. The lonely millionaire and the kind woman had found a new way to connect: through letters, through friendship, and through the simple, powerful magic of hope. Days passed, and the meetings at the park became a regular part of David and Maya's lives. Every afternoon, they would find each other on the same bench near the fountain, sharing stories and laughter. Their friendship was growing, slow but steady, built on trust and kindness. David loved listening to Maya's voice. It was warm and gentle, like a soft melody that calmed his heart. He shared more about his life, his blindness, his work, and his dreams. Maya listened carefully, never judging or feeling sorry. She admired David's strength and the way he found beauty in things many people ignored. Maya also spoke openly about her life. She told David about her small cafe job, her love for books, and her simple dreams of happiness. David could feel the sincerity in her words. It made him want to know more about her, to understand her world. One afternoon, as they sat together, David reached out his hand. "Maya, I want to thank you," he said softly. "Your letters, your visits, they have brought light to my life." Maya smiled. "And you have done the same for me, David. Your words made me believe in hope again." Even though David could not see Maya's smile, he felt it through her voice. It was a moment of connection that neither would forget. Back at the cafe, Maya sometimes thought about their friendship and the letters. She wondered if she should tell David the truth, that she was the one who had been answering his letters all along. The thought made her nervous. What if it changed everything? What if he was disappointed? But deep down, she hoped that their friendship would grow stronger with honesty. Meanwhile, David was thinking the same thing. He wanted to tell Maya who he really was, to share the secret of the letters. But every time he tried to speak, the words got stuck. Fear and hope mixed inside him, making it hard to decide. One evening, after a lovely day at the park, David invited Maya to his home. With Sam's help, Maya arrived at the large house. The moment was quiet and full of new feelings. David wanted Maya to see his world, to understand him better. David guided Maya through the rooms with his cane, describing everything he could feel. He spoke about the soft carpet, the smooth furniture, and the smell of fresh flowers in the vase. Maya listened, imagining the place in her mind. They sat together by the window, listening to the city's sounds. David said, "Even though I cannot see, I feel surrounded by life and love." Maya took David's hand gently. "And I feel the same when I'm with you." For the first time, they shared a silence filled with meaning, a quiet moment where no words were needed. Over the next weeks, their friendship grew deeper. They continued writing letters, but now they also spent time talking face to face. The letters were no longer just words on paper, they were the bridge that brought their hearts closer. One day, David told Maya about a secret place he loved, a garden behind his house. He described the flowers, the birds, and the peacefulness. He asked Maya if she would like to visit it with him. Maya agreed happily. She wanted to see the garden and share the quiet beauty with David. The day they visited the garden was sunny and warm. Sam helped guide them as they walked slowly along the flower paths. Maya described the colors and scents to David, while he listened carefully, feeling the petals and leaves with his hands. They sat on a bench under a big tree. David smiled and said, "This garden is like our friendship, quiet, strong, and full of life." Maya nodded. "I'm glad we found each other, David. You have taught me to see the world in a new way." David squeezed her hand gently. "And you have taught me to hope again." Their friendship had become something rare and beautiful, a connection that went beyond sight or words. It was a feeling in the heart, a quiet understanding that they were no longer alone. Yet, even with this closeness, the secret of the letters still waited to be shared. Both David and Maya knew it was important, but the fear of changing what they had made them hesitate. Still, every day, they grew more sure that their friendship was the start of something wonderful. They were no longer strangers but friends walking together on a new path, one full of hope, trust, and love. As the sun set behind the garden trees, David and Maya sat quietly, their hands joined. In that moment, the future felt bright and full of promise. David and Maya's friendship grew stronger every day. They talked for hours in the park, visited the garden behind David's house, and shared many moments full of laughter and quiet comfort. But something special was waiting quietly beneath the surface, a secret connection neither of them had yet discovered. Every morning, David would listen carefully to the sounds around him: birds chirping, leaves rustling, footsteps nearby. Sometimes, he would hear Maya's voice in the distance and feel a happiness he could not explain. Maya often thought about David's letters. She kept each one in a small box at home. The words were like treasures, full of kindness and hope. She knew those letters were the true beginning of their friendship, even before they met. One busy day, Maya worked in the cafe as usual. The place was full of customers, and the smell of fresh coffee filled the air. As she served a regular customer, she glanced toward the window and saw David walking by with his cane. He was on his way to the park, just like every day. Maya smiled and waved, but David did not notice. His other senses were busy guiding him safely down the sidewalk. It was a small moment, but it felt important, two lives so close, yet not fully connected. Later that afternoon, David sat at his desk, writing a new letter. His fingers moved gently over the paper as he wrote about the park, the garden, and the kindness he had found in Maya. He did not know she was nearby, just a few blocks away, reading one of his letters again. David thought about the letters they exchanged, feeling warmth in his heart. "I wonder if Maya knows how much she means to me," he wrote softly. "I hope one day she will understand the truth." Maya, too, was thinking about the letters and their secret. She had not yet told David that she was the one who had replied to his words. The thought made her nervous, but she felt it was time to share her secret. One evening, as the sun set behind the city, Maya took a deep breath and sat down to write a letter. This time, she told David everything: that she was the one who had been answering his letters, that the kindness and hope in his words had touched her heart deeply. She did not send the letter right away. Instead, she kept it safe, waiting for the right moment. Meanwhile, David continued to visit the park and the garden. He loved feeling the soft breeze on his face and the gentle touch of leaves and flowers. His heart was full of hope and joy because of Maya. One day, as they walked together in the park, Maya suddenly stopped. "David," she said softly, "there is something I want to tell you." David looked toward her and smiled. "Yes, Maya." She took a deep breath and said, "I am the one who wrote back to your letters. I have been your secret friend all along." David's heart beat faster. For a moment, he was silent. Then he laughed softly, full of happiness and surprise. "I wondered," he said. "I felt there was something special about you." Maya smiled with relief. "I was afraid you might be upset, but I could not keep it a secret any longer." David reached out and took her hand gently. Thank you for trusting me. Your words have been the light in my life. From that day, their friendship grew even closer. They no longer had secrets between them. Their letters became more joyful, full of laughter and plans for the future. But still, there was one truth they had not yet discovered, that their paths had crossed many times before, in small moments they had not noticed. David had passed by the cafe where Maya worked dozens of times. Maya had helped him once when he accidentally dropped his cane near the market. They had shared smiles and kind words without knowing the deep connection they already had. Now, knowing the truth of their letters, they began to look back on those moments with new eyes. It was as if fate had been gently guiding them together all along. One rainy afternoon, David invited Maya to the cafe for a special visit. Sam, the assistant, smiled as he saw them enter together. The cafe was warm and full of familiar smells. David sat quietly while Maya greeted the customers. Then, with a gentle voice, he said, "This place is very special to me now, because it brought me to you." Maya blushed and smiled. "And you have made my life brighter too." They talked about the small moments they had shared unknowingly, the brief meetings and kind smiles that had been hidden treasures in their past. David said softly, "Sometimes, we do not see the most important things because they are right in front of us." Maya nodded. "I am glad we found each other, even if it took time." Their friendship was no longer just letters or park visits. It was a real connection built on understanding, kindness, and the magic of unseen ties. As they left the cafe that day, walking side by side under a shared umbrella, they felt the promise of something new, a love that had grown quietly, patiently, waiting to be discovered. The days were growing warmer as spring came closer. The city was full of life, flowers blooming, children laughing in the park, and birds singing early in the morning. David and Maya's friendship had blossomed, too, turning into something deeper and more meaningful. Though they spent many hours together, a small question stayed in David's heart. He wondered if the person he had met was truly the same kind soul who had been writing those heartfelt letters. The letters were so special, so personal. Was it really Maya? One bright afternoon, David decided it was time to ask the question he had been holding inside for so long. They were sitting together in the garden behind David's house, surrounded by blooming flowers and the soft hum of bees. "Maya," David said gently, "I have something to ask you." Maya looked at him, her eyes warm and trusting. "What is it, David?" He took a deep breath, feeling the cool breeze on his face. "Are you the one who has been writing the letters to me? The ones I've been waiting for all this time?" Maya's heart skipped a beat. She smiled softly and nodded. "Yes, David. I was afraid to tell you at first. But I wanted you to know the truth." David's fingers gently touched her hand. "I had hoped you were. Your words have touched my heart more than I can say." For a moment, they sat quietly, holding hands and feeling the connection growing stronger between them. "I want to know everything," David said. "About your life, your dreams, and your fears." Maya smiled. "And I want to know everything about you, too." As the sun began to set, painting the sky with orange and pink, they shared stories they had never told anyone else. Maya spoke about her childhood, her love for the cafe, and the simple joys she found in everyday life. David shared memories of his youth, the moment he lost his sight, and how he found strength in his music and writing. Their voices were soft, full of honesty and trust. The garden around them seemed to hold its breath, listening to the beginning of something new and beautiful. Later that evening, David sat at his desk, writing a letter not for the mailbox, but for Maya. He wanted to put into words the feelings he found difficult to say aloud. He wrote about the light she had brought into his life, the hope that grew with every letter and every meeting. He told her how much he admired her courage, kindness, and gentle spirit. David folded the letter carefully and placed it in an envelope. He gave it to Sam, asking him to deliver it to Maya the next morning. The next day, Maya found the letter waiting for her. She opened it slowly, reading each word with tears in her eyes. David's letter was full of love and gratitude. It was the most beautiful letter she had ever received. At that moment, Maya knew their friendship had changed forever. It was no longer just a bond between two people, it was the start of love. Days passed, and David and Maya continued to spend time together, exploring the city, visiting the park, and sharing quiet moments in the garden. They talked about their dreams for the future, traveling, helping others, and building a life filled with happiness. One afternoon, David surprised Maya with a small gift, a simple bracelet with a tiny charm shaped like a heart. "For you," he said softly, "to remind you that you are always in my heart." Maya smiled and slipped the bracelet onto her wrist. "Thank you, David. This means more than words can say." Their days were full of joy, but there was also a gentle nervousness, the feeling that something important was coming, a moment that would change everything. One evening, as they walked through the city streets under the soft glow of street lamps, David stopped and looked at Maya. "Maya," he said quietly, "I have never met anyone like you before. You have opened my heart and shown me a new way to see the world." Maya looked up at him, her eyes shining. "And you have taught me to believe in love again." David took her hands in his. "Will you be with me? Not just as a friend, but as something more." Maya's smile grew wider, and tears of happiness filled her eyes. "Yes, David. I will." In that quiet moment, surrounded by the soft sounds of the city night, two hearts became one. They had started as strangers, one blind millionaire writing letters to a stranger, and one kind woman reading those letters and answering back. But now, they were something more, two souls connected by love, trust, and the beautiful promise of a shared future. As they walked hand in hand toward the park bench where their story had begun, they knew that their journey was only just beginning. The letters had brought them together, but it was their courage to trust and open their hearts that would keep them united forever. The seasons changed again, and spring gave way to the gentle warmth of summer. The city buzzed with life, but for David and Maya, time seemed to slow down when they were together. Their love had grown quietly, like a flower blossoming in the sunshine, strong, beautiful, and full of promise. Every day, they shared small moments that filled their hearts with happiness. They would sit on the same park bench where they first met, watch children play, and listen to the soft rustling of leaves above them. The world felt bright and alive, full of endless possibilities. One sunny afternoon, David took Maya's hand and said, "Do you remember when I was afraid to visit the park? When the world felt too big and uncertain?" Maya smiled, her eyes sparkling. "Yes, but you found the courage to come, and that day changed everything." David squeezed her hand gently. "Because of you, I have learned to see the world with my heart, not just my eyes. And I want to spend the rest of my life with you." Maya's heart fluttered. She had dreamed of this moment, but now that it was here, it felt even more wonderful than she had imagined. David reached into his pocket and pulled out a small, velvet box. He opened it slowly, revealing a simple but beautiful ring. "Maya, will you marry me?" Tears filled Maya's eyes. "Yes, David. I will." They hugged tightly, two hearts full of love and hope. Around them, the park seemed to smile, the birds singing a joyful song. After that day, their lives changed in many ways. They planned a small wedding, surrounded by close friends and family who had watched their love story grow. The ceremony was held in the garden behind David's house, where flowers bloomed and the air was filled with the sweet scent of jasmine. David could not see the faces around him, but he felt their warmth and happiness. Maya stood beside him, radiant and glowing with love. When they exchanged their vows, their voices trembled with emotion. "I promise to love you, support you, and walk beside you through every step of life," David said. Maya replied, "And I promise to be your strength, your friend and your partner forever. Their rings were placed on their fingers, a symbol of their bond and the journey they had taken to find each other. After the ceremony, they celebrated with laughter, music, and delicious food. Maya's cafe friends came, and Sam, David's loyal assistant, was there too. Everyone smiled and cheered for the happy couple. Later that evening, David and Maya sat quietly in the garden, holding hands as the stars appeared in the night sky. "Do you remember the letters?" David asked softly. Maya nodded. "The letters that started it all. I will keep them forever." David smiled. "They showed us that love can grow in the most unexpected ways. Even when we cannot see it with our eyes." Maya leaned her head on David's shoulder. "Love is the light that guides us, no matter what." Their hearts were full. They knew the future would not always be easy, but together, they could face anything. David and Maya's story was one of hope, patience, and the power of connection. It showed that true love does not need perfect sight or perfect conditions, it needs only honesty, kindness, and courage. As the night grew quiet, they dreamed of the many adventures ahead, travels to new places, quiet mornings in the garden, and endless letters filled with love. The blind millionaire and the kind woman had found what many search for all their lives, a love that sees with the heart, feels with the soul, and grows with every moment. And in that love, they were never truly alone again.